read some stuff with me. It's a good time guaranteed, starring talented vocal performers. I can't promise it's PG, so kids don't listen, please. Come on down to Dale's Reading Corner.
Why is my phone acting sparkly?
Oh, hey, Ikky! How's it going?
Yeah, sorry, I just got back in. The child was literally bouncing off the walls, and something needed to be done.
I don't doubt it. Ikky, please meet the wonderful Mr. Improvidence.
Hello.
What's up?
I wasn't recording it before, so I'm gonna do it again. Hello everybody, my name's Dale Applier, and welcome to today's reading of Beauty and the Skele by Ikky. Today we've got Improvidence, and we will be continuing where we left off with Dave Tastic last time.
I will do my best to fill his shoes.
Oh yes, well, they're very drunk shoes to fill. So...
See, when he zigs, I zag. I actually have some black tea to drink.
Nice. So, Impy. I still can't believe you're letting me call you that. Impy,
I mean, everyone can see what my actual name is, so it's all the same.
I think improv has more gravitas myself, but that's just me.
No, Ikky, of course I don't want gravitas. Of course we're not going for gravitas, Impy. Not Impy, Ikky. We're not going... they're too close. They're too close.
Okay, you might have to stick with improv just so you don't confuse the two.
It's tragic. I was looking forward to it. Okay. All right.
Forced into propriety.
Forced into impropriety. So there are, I think, 5 total speaking parts in this. A couple of them are brief. One is the old man, which I will continue doing from last time, I guess, for consistency in that voice.
Someone said there's an old man.
All right. Well, okay. Well, you see, improv. I have big plans for you, my friend. I have big plans for you.
I'm all quiver with anticipation.
This show is not about good voice acting. You're gonna do Frisk.
Oh.
Huh.
I will do a very accurate Undertale stance.
Okay, yeah, I was not expecting this twist.
Exactly. This entire thing is a thinly veiled attempt to just get to hear very talented voice actors do roles that are completely unfitting for them. So,
I don't know if I can do my Teen Girl Squad voice for a whole video.
Well,
Hey, I'm Frisk.
No, that will... My throat will be in tatters by the end if I try to do cheerleader the whole time.
That's worse than my Frisk, and if you listen to the other videos, if you listen to the Songfell outtakes, I keep slipping into a poor Mickey Mouse impression whenever I try to do Frisk.
She does.
That
Well, if you're trying to seduce me, Sans, how about you fuck around and find out?
The difference is that's a good Mickey Mouse impression too. That's a good one. So anyway, I do request, if you do the Frisk voice like you did just now, if you could turn your microphone down a little bit, or if you could get a little bit away from it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that voice. That is murder on the throat. I don't know how the Chaps brothers do it.
You're not required to actually murder your throat, just your dignity, I suppose.
Yes.
Oh, see, that I can do.
Yes. I had none left to start with, so I'm really curious, real quick, if I can just ask you a question before we start.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this voice acting thing?
As far as making a legit effort at it, it's been about 2.5-ish years as far as like running my blog.
Speaking of which, I need to tell people to go to that. I will put a link to Improvidence's blog in the description. It is Improvidence318 on Tumblr.
True story.
True story, yeah. Also, I will also be putting a link to... You have a Ko-fi, yeah? Or coffee? Okay, I will be putting a link to his coffee down below. If you enjoy today's episode, please consider giving him a tip.
Just the tip.
Yeah, I was trying to frame a joke there. You just saved me the effort.
Just
Anyway.
a tip after all, until we get to know
Okay.
each other a little better.
God. All right. Okay. If you want more stuff like that, check out his Tumblr blog.
Give him more than just the tip.
If you like
Okay.
dumb, horny bullshit, click on the link.
Oh, one other question. So I finally this time I wrote down an actual list of things to say before and after the show, which I have
Fancy.
somewhat followed. But one of the things that I was going to ask was, what is the hardest character for you to voice, and what is the weirdest one you've ever voiced? Because I've been super impressed listening to your blog. I've listened to a lot of your Tumblr posts before, and the range of characters you can do is incredible.
True story.
Let's see. As far
Thank you,
as
Ikky.
far as like, I mean, I've done some characters like one-offs, but like as far as like the ones that I do consistently, I mean, Horror Sans is definitely rough just because of the way I have to deliver him. I
Yeah.
basically talk like this for the whole time.
Yeah,
With
don't.
a lot of breath in between that I have to edit out. And then, like, you do that for a while, it wears on you. That's why I don't do a lot of stuff that's very long as Horror Sans.
Yeah.
Or Teen Girl Squad.
Teen Girl Squad would fucking murder me if I would try to do that consistently.
It would murder me, and I'm like technically like female when I talk, so yeah, you're not expected to do that at all.
See, like, Mafia Sans and Nox are, like, I can slip into them pretty easily, and it doesn't, like, I'm fine doing it.
Yeah.
Blue is super easy, like,
Oh, I just kind of go a little nasally and go like a bad Peridot impersonation.
That's a fun way to think of his voice as a bad Peridot impersonation.
I never did see that show. Never did watch that.
Oh, you're missing out. You should show your daughter.
it's some
I
quality
probably
content.
should.
It is a quality show, yes.
See, I'm trying to think of, like, specific characters that I avoid doing because they hurt much, or, like, they wear on me after a while. Like, a lot of the ones that are, like, just kind of painful to do, I just kind of end up not really doing a voice for them. Because I'm like, well, then people will want me to do more of it, and I just, nah.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I personally have only really ever heard you do Undertale voices, but you do other ones too, yeah?
Yeah, I've done a few. I've done a few Overwatch recordings. I have, like, a little, like, a 1920s reporter radio guy.
Haha, yeah.
There's a blog called Yesterday's Print that will print kind of funny shit posted from, like, back in the 1910s through the 30s of just, like, things that prove that people have been mainly the same the whole time. They have the same sense of humor. And I have Reporter Guy doing that.
Nice.
I've done Optimus Prime and Megatron a few times. Seto Kaiba. Ruvik from The Evil Within, I think. Specifically because they're like, hey, you sound like you could do a good Ruvik voice. And I'm like, all right, well, how's this sound? They're like, good, do more. I'm like, I don't know what this game is.
Fair enough.
I can also do Brain from Pinky and the Brain, which when you think about it is basically just Maurice LaMarche's Orson Welles impersonation for an entire TV show. Can't argue with results.
Nice, yeah. Also to mention real quick, you are also part of Bonely Hearts Club, yeah?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that is available for the demo at Game Jolt. And I will put a link to that down below in the description as well.
Yep, we're all hard at work. A couple of the date images, like the standalone images, have already been completed, and they are super fucking cute.
Nice. Yeah, last time Dave mentioned it at the end of the show, and he started panicking because he couldn't remember the URL for it. And so it's in the video. It's in the video and it's in the description.
Yep. Go check out the demo. It's already ready, and I think we, because I know we changed Nox's name. It used to be Black, and now it's Nox, so we kind of have a specific named take on the Swapfell character, so he kind of stands out from the others.
Nice.
And I think we have a new patch with that name change. I do not remember if it's done yet.
I think I saw something for, hey, his name is Nox now, here's the patch. And I was like, oh, cool. And then there was a shiny thing, and I got distracted, as is my wont, so.
Okay, alright, so shall we start this mess? Let's start this. To resume, we are reading Beauty and the Skele, which is still a working name, by Ikustioa. This was a present for Vinalona, right, Ikky?
Yep.
Yeah.
On the last thrilling episode of Dragondale Z.
Thank you. That's a perfect intro. Thank you. All right. Her father was hiding something. That seemed impossible, and not just because he was a terrible liar. Almost the moment he stumbled over the threshold of her uncle's house in a filthy, sobbing heap, he had started babbling about a monster stealing his Frisk. Once he'd been cleaned up, fed, and tucked into bed, he'd stayed awake long enough to relate a horrible, fantastical tale of stumbling across the castle from local legend and running afoul of its hideous master. And they'd believed it, because, well, she loved her father, but he had the most wretched luck imaginable.
At least her aunt had been asleep when all the commotion started, so there was nothing to stop Uncle Raph from assuring his brother that they would look into the matter as quickly and thoroughly as possible. Servants were dispatched to fetch books from the library and summon the nearest mage from his cottage outside the village. By the time Aunt Kay woke up, her maid could report to her that her brother-in-law had come home bearing a geas, a type of curse far too powerful for humans to break, and would lose his daughter in less than 3 days.
Frisk had to give her aunt credit. She said all the correct things about being so very sorry and hoping that there was a way to save her poor niece from having to live with literal monsters, possibly for the rest of her life. But when it became apparent that there was nothing anyone could do, she was the first to embrace Frisk, as much as she could around her enormous belly, of course, and assure her that if any young woman could handle such a bizarre fate, it was her. She'd packed a bag of sentimental items for Frisk to take with her in case she got homesick, with only the slightest hint of glee at having sole dominion over the house now.
Thanks, Auntie. Real full of determination, Dick.
Yeah, she's a bitch. Anyway.
Her father had come home with a cold brewing because of course he had. Knowing she was going to leave and having so little warning had caused chaos among the servants, and Frisk was too busy making arrangements to do more than check in on her father every few hours. He spent most of his time either asleep or staring at the beautiful blue flower he'd brought her.
That was the last bit of proof anyone needed to believe his story. Echo flowers only grew in intensely magical surroundings, and there was so little magic left nowadays that they were thought to be extinct. But here it was, a thick-stemmed, six-petaled blossom that repeated anything spoken nearby. Frisk would have been more excited about it under different circumstances, but, well, maybe her new employer would let her have a few of her own.
The whole thing was strange, all the more so because of the way her father had told that part when they were gathered to listen to his story. He'd said he was bound to do what the creature commanded him, which was to bring his daughter up to the castle within 3 days' time. The most logical supposition was that Frisk was going to get eaten, but her father had hastened to assure them that the beast seemed angry at the very idea of hurting Frisk. He just wanted...
There was that little hitch in his voice when the beast said, God damn it, when he said the beast wanted Frisk to perform all the functions of a housekeeper, and that she would be well rewarded. Why hadn't he just said the monster needs a housekeeper? And why had he clutched his chest like that afterwards? Was the geas hurting him for saying the wrong thing?
Frisk had kept herself too busy to think about it very hard, to believe that she was really going to be thrown out of another home and into the clutches of monsters from myth and legend. On some level, she could convince herself that her father had exaggerated or made some kind of mistake, and it wasn't going to be so bad. But now, nearing sunset on the 3rd day after her father's misadventure, they were most of the way up the mountain, and fear was starting to creep through her veins like frost. Her father could be naive, even simple-minded, but he wasn't crazy. She really was going to be left alone in a strange place full of strange creatures, expected to take care of them, answering to a walking, talking skeleton. This couldn't be happening.
A couple of the younger manservants had insisted on accompanying them part of the way. I love the word manservants. It's great.
Yeah, it's, it kind of just feels like, it feels like a job that has to be done shirtless, you know?
Yeah, I was more thinking that it's kind of like different breeds of dog. Like you've got the horse servant, you've got the manservant, you've got the maid servant.
You guys went in an entirely different direction than me. I was thinking of Man Cub from Jungle Book.
Like guys like running around in a loin.
Hey, technically Mowgli is shirtless, so.
Oh, true. It fits both of them. Okay. The mage had warned them that they could only get so close to the castle before the horses refused to go any further. Sure enough, about a mile from the castle gates, the men had to help them dismount before the animals grew frightened enough to turn and bolt. Frisk gave each man a quick hug. At least her aunt wasn't there to scold her. And they reluctantly headed back down the mountain to wait with the terrified horses, ready to escort her father home.
The latter was growing more and more agitated as they approached the castle on foot. He could barely speak with his throat raw from coughing, but the way he kept glancing at her, clearing his throat and sighing heavily. "What is it, father?" Frisk finally asked.
I had no idea what to expect, and that's perfect.
How's that for a counter twist?
That's excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. Perfect.
Ow.
I like how Ikky, you were like, it was going so well. You know, it was sounding so good.
You did this.
I know I did this, and you let me do this to your fic. So
Well, what am I supposed to do? Reach through the internet and stab you or something?
forbid me from doing other fics.
Merry Melodies presents Droopy Dog in Beauty and the Skele.
Frisk finally asked. He swallowed. I haven't been entirely truthful, dear. She stiffened, shifting her bundle to her other shoulder as he coughed into his handkerchief. The creature didn't order me to say the exact words in just the right order, and I didn't want to humiliate you in front of everyone by telling the full story.
What story?
Ow. This is serious faces, people. This is serious.
I know. I'll cut out most of the laughing.
This is a fucking joke? We're here to do a job and we'll do it professionally. Now you read that story.
Serious business, goddammit.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
This is gonna sound great when you're editing it. Just the constant screaming into the mic.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll sound like Shakespeare in post.
If you're talking about the screaming on my end, I've already had to edit a lot of that out. So, alright. The lump in her throat grew heavier as the trees started thinning out, the ground sloping sharply upward.
Is it really true that I have to stay with the monsters and keep house for them?
It's true, love, but... Another maddening pause. He is a skeleton, so I believe you'll be spared some things, but running a household is included as your role, frick. But running a household is included in your role as... The wind rose from nothing to a scream of frigid air, nearly throwing them to the ground. Ikky, do the wind.
Beep.
That's not wind! You're always so happy to come in with wind. You come in... alright.
That's what wind sounds like right now. I don't know what else to tell you.
That's the scream of frigid air. It's beep.
Beep.
Beep. Frisk lowered her arm, and to her dismay... We're here, her father croaked. In the dying light, a huge wall loomed over them, black marble framing a set of gates over 30 feet tall. The bars were nearly obscured by climbing ivy. Despite her fear, Frisk found herself drifting closer in sheer curiosity, reaching to pull the ivy aside. Frisk, her father croaked. He was almost unrecognizable, pulling her back and giving her a little shake. She watched him struggle with himself and lose. Stay here and be good, he said jerkily. His lips formed a few frantic words, but she couldn't catch them before he crushed her to him.
Crushed her like a can of empty soda.
The end. Shortest fairy tale ever.
No, he's too small and feeble. He couldn't.
Just like crinkled, that's the word. He crinkled her. Oh.
He just sort of grabbed her in his clammy old hands.
I think that's worse. I'd actually rather be crushed. Anyway.
Okay. Before he crushed her to him in a sudden, fierce embrace. "Be careful," he whispered. "I love you."
The sun had disappeared over the horizon. Before she could hug him back, Frisk felt something coursing through her father's body, forcing his arms to drop and his legs to carry him back a step. He struggled to get more words out, but it was too late. Had his last orders been, "Shut up and leave"? Charming, and succinct, and effective.
This was it. Frisk had had plenty of practice at smiling, and did her best.
"Goodbye, father."
God damn it.
She said helplessly.
"I love you too."
Why was that sexy? Is that supposed to...
No! No, Ikky! Ikky, no, it's not sexy! Ikky, it's not sexy!
Okay.
Did it sound a little too... "I love you too." Was that better?
It was.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Okay. Then she turned and plunged through the ivy before he could hurt himself resisting any further.
When she stepped free of the bars and brushed the leaves from her face, Frisk almost forgot her sorrow and despair in sheer wonder. Lamps on iron posts lit up a garden arranged in long, orderly, but breathtakingly lovely rows of bushes, flowers, statuary. She'd never seen anything like it. Letting her bundle hang from one wrist, Frisk turned to look at the gates and the massive walls, wondering how big the grounds must be if this was just a private garden. Granted, it belonged to the lord of the castle, and he obviously cared enough to keep it in good order.
And had terrorized her father into forcing her out of her home to come play housekeeper amongst total strangers for... how long? If the problem was just that monsters couldn't cook or clean up after themselves, maybe she could stay long enough to teach them and then go back. Surely they didn't expect her to do it all on her own forever, not when they had magic to help them do everything?
Frisk shook her head, scanning the garden for signs of life. She could hear a fountain burbling in the near distance, just out of sight. The wind was freezing, but carried the smell of flowers, helping calm the human down a little. It was enough to let her take a step forward, then a few more, wandering into the first stand of rose bushes and a patch of black irises. Their petals didn't reflect light, but shone like velvet, tempting her to reach out. No, she thought hastily, snatching her hand away. Touching flowers without permission was what got her poor, well-meaning, hapless father into this mess.
No one seemed to be coming to meet her, but then it wasn't completely dark yet. If she had a few minutes to herself, then Frisk figured she could spend it in peace and calm before she met her fate, whatever that might be, whatever her father had been trying to tell her. So the young woman stood up and set off down the path, taking her time examining the rows of irises, snapdragons, and several flowers that had no business blooming at this time of year.
She didn't see a shadow step out from behind a lamppost, nor did she notice when it hesitated, then vanished, reappearing behind another lamppost, and another, till it was just a few steps away.
Frisk thought she felt someone watching her, but when she turned around, there was nothing there. Shivering, she drew her cloak tighter around her shoulders, squinting up at a faint outline against the darkening sky. The castle wasn't exactly hard to find, but that didn't mean she knew how to get there. The garden was so huge that she couldn't tell which path led out of it. Maybe she should... Oh god, okay. This is gonna take... Okay.
Human.
No! No, improv, no! That's a good voice! That's a good voice, improv, no! It has to be a bad voice.
Human!
No! I'm doing this voice and I'm doing it poorly!
Dale, hurry up and do Cookie Monster or something.
I know, I'm my Cookie Monster, yeah.
Human.
Raw terror flooded her senses, and her brain screamed so many conflicting orders that nothing got through. Frisk could only stand stock still, clutching her bundle. Sorry, I'm imagining improv talking next. Clutching her bundle till she summoned the courage to whirl around. Nothing was there. Was her mind playing tricks on her? No, she couldn't have imagined such an awful, terrible accent of a voice, deep and rough as a delicate tap-tap on her shoulder. Frisk shrieked and twisted around, landing on her rear with an ungentle thump.
What are you doing?
Now you sound kind of like Snape from Potter Puppet Pals.
I'm switching the voice. Now I'm doing Brain.
Okay, you switched the voice. Okay. That's what Frisk changes her voice into when she gets scared. She goes from droopy dog to Brain.
It's a psychological condition they've never been able to fix.
I ate a mouthful of bees earlier, and that's why I sound like this. But when I get scared, the adrenaline kind of brings down the swelling, and I start to sound like this.
Okay. She yelled.
Who's
The air went still.
that dead motherfucker who tapped me on the shoulder?
Okay. The air went still, her lungs shriveling and her heart stopping at the sight of a skeleton. This must be the skeleton, looming over her. The smooth bone of its skull had a dull, velvety sheen like the iris's petals, and dots of red hellfire glinted in its empty sockets. Its teeth, no, fangs, were barred in a cruel grin.
Bared.
Hands buried... Alright.
Bared.
Yeah, shut up! We're bared in a cute... God damn it! We're bared in a cruel... God! You shut up! You shut up! You shut up right now!
Take your time.
You shut up, Snape dog!
If you mess up the line again, I will take 10 points from Gryffindor. Fuck around and find out.
You're making it hard! Okay. We're bared in a cruel grin, hands buried in the pockets of its black coat. Beneath it, the creature's shirt was a surprisingly bright red. Satin? The tidy domestic corner of her mind wondered how expensive that had been, and how difficult it was to keep clean. As a matter of fact, the skeleton was more richly dressed than her father had been at the peak of his wealth, right down to a frankly garish gold tooth. This had to be the lord of the castle, beyond a doubt.
But his wealth was far less important than the fact that a skeleton was staring down at her. It didn't speak or grab her or do anything but stand there, its face unreadable. Surely it could talk after the way it had cursed her father.
Anger surged through her, propelling her to her feet.
"Greetings, my lord,"
Frisk said coolly, stepping back to discreetly brush herself off and drop into a deep curtsy. One of them had to be civilized about this.
"My name is Frisk. I am here by your command."
The skeleton blinked, the bone of its socket somehow closing just like a human's eyelids. Frisk was almost too fascinated to be angry. Almost. It silently shifted its weight. Was it a he? The monster was dressed like a male and had sounded like it. Why wasn't he saying anything else? A light gust of wind flapped her hood against her neck. Shivering, she broke eye contact to hitch her bundle back over her shoulder and reached to pull the hood up.
"I hope I'm not too late.
Quicker than she could blink, the creature was right in front of her, inches away. Frisk tried not to cringe as his bony fingers plucked the hood from her grasp, letting it drop against her back.
What?
Stupidly, she reached up again, and the skeleton's brows drew together. His fingers pushed her hand away and, to her shock, rose to brush her hair off her cheek. That did it! She was willing to come here to save her father's life, not to be scared out of her mind, stared down, kept freezing, and all but propositioned by the thing that had done this to them. Who did he think he was?
"I beg your pardon,"
she snarled, and the skeleton's sockets widened as she smacked his hand away.
"You will not touch me without my permission, my lord. And if I am not allowed to wear this,
Frisk waggled her hood.
then you will please take me somewhere out of the wind."
She tried not to sniffle and hoped he'd attribute it to the cold. Without thinking, she scratched her cheek, trying to erase the unwanted feeling of those smooth, warmish fingers on her skin.
"Lead the way." To her alarm, the red light in his sockets vanished, as if she'd blown out a candle.
Yes, milady,
growled a voice from somewhere deep in its chest. Frisk gripped her bundle as the skeleton turned on its heel.
Come along.
Frisk tried not to gulp too loud and hoped he, couldn't hear her heart pounding as she followed him across the garden. With the anger ebbing away, fear was reclaiming her, dulling the wind's bite and the ache building in her feet from the walk here. Her aunt had insisted she wear a respectable dress and heeled slippers to meet her new master, never mind how impractical they were for traveling, and Frisk could feel a blister forming.
The skeleton's shoulders were hunched, his hands in his pockets as his boots scuffed the white stones. It was a distinctly unnoble posture, almost sullen. Was he really the lord of the castle? He wasn't carrying himself with much confidence, and though she'd obviously irritated him, he hadn't bothered to correct her. Maybe monsters were nicer than humans overall, no matter what the stories said. Maybe, she thought as they exited the garden through the wicker gate and started across the courtyard, humans were entirely wrong about them. She might just be Ikky, do you want to do Monster Kid?
Dumbass.
Oh, come on, Ikky, you can do a Monster Kid.
Dumbass.
That's much better.
The skeleton stopped so fast that she nearly walked into him. A moment later, something flew across their path, followed closely by a small yellow body.
The ball's a dumbass,
it said, helpfully in passing, with the snide, high-pitched tone of a child almost breaking the rules.
Frisk's escort made a low noise and suddenly whipped his hand up and around. She barely had time to process what was happening before the little monster was jerked into the air, flipping upside down and hanging in a scarlet cloud.
You think you're smart?
The Lord demanded, gesturing to silence the child, she supposed.
Don't answer that.
The lizard-like monster didn't have arms to gesture with, but kicked its feet and snapped his teeth more than expressively enough.
Knock it off,
the skeleton warned him.
The child obediently stopped kicking and started mouthing obscenities instead. To Frisk's dismay, the cloud of magic dropped him onto the ground head first, and, before he could recover, picked him back up. The lizard stuck his tongue out in defiance, at which the red cloud rose several feet higher before dropping him again. This time, when it picked him up...
Stop it,
Frisk protested. They both glared at her and she shook her head.
He's just being a child. He's not hurting anyone.
The skeleton snorted. Frisk felt her face flushing again as the magic dropped the young monster once more. The child gave her one sneering glance before scuttling off. Then the Lord turned to glare at Frisk, who was trembling with fear and rage.
I could say a lot of stuff right now, but you just got here,
he said with dangerous patience.
So I'm gonna cut you some slack.
He started walking again.
Come on. Everyone should be in the Great Hall by now, except that little fucker. But that's fine. He'll hear it too.
Frisk wanted to ask what he meant and object to his language, but she was tired and cold and sore and hungry and now keenly aware of what the monster could do to her if he chose. She followed him meekly across the courtyard and through several more winding paths, most too dimly lit to see more than the skeleton's broad back. He wasn't much taller than her, but he was powerfully built, even without his hellish magic. He didn't look sullen anymore, just angry. Frisk wasn't one for self-pity, but what had she done to deserve this?
He eventually stopped in front of a door so small and unassuming that she went right in after him, blinking in the sudden light, expecting to see a kitchen or servant's entrance. Instead, when her vision cleared, it revealed a dazzling array of red carpets, stairs, dozens of voices, thousands of candles. Her senses were too overloaded to take it all in. This must be the Great Hall, she thought muzzily, barely aware that the skeleton had turned to watch her.
She did notice when he took her hand, fingers tightening as she reflexively pulled away.
In this way,
he muttered. Frisk couldn't help scowling. For someone who had spent so much time and cruel effort getting her here, he didn't seem at all happy to have her. At least his hand gave her something to focus on as he led her through the columns at the back of the room and into the center of the red carpet. As she'd thought when he touched her face in the garden, which she still resented, His bones were as warm as human fingers, with a strange consistency, smooth and slightly pliant. He was probably strong enough to crush her fingers like brittle leaves, but he held them just firmly enough that she couldn't get away. How nice of him, she thought, irritably.
Excellent
Suddenly,
voice acting.
the skeleton paused and turned to face the room.
Hey!
He said.
Sorry, that
almost...
conversationally. Sorry, that wasn't conversationally.
Hey!
Hey, I say, conversationally.
Hey!
He said, almost conversationally.
Shut up!
The human thought he was talking to her until the hall grew very quiet, making her ears itch. A tug on her hand turned her to face the same way he was, and her eyes widened.
The room was full of monsters, the ones she'd heard about as a child and with whom she'd be living and working now. There were creatures made of ice, one built almost entirely out of razor-sharp teeth, several fire spirits, some with fur or scales or both. There was another much taller skeleton, and...
She was good at making quick estimates, and there were barely 100 monsters in the hall. Surely this couldn't be all of them.
So,
said the Lord. Thus saith the Lord.
I send a pestilence and plague unto your...
Sorry. With his free hand, he dug beneath his shirt and pulled out a pendant shaped like a miniature skull, elongated like a deerhound and sporting far too many fangs for Frisk's taste. The skeleton raised the pendant to eye level. In an instant, Frisk sensed a shift in the atmosphere from mild disdain to wary, almost fearful anticipation.
Here she is,
proclaimed the lord of the castle.
Meet Frisk.
Fizz for Frisky, that's good enough for me.
My friends make fun of me, my improv. My friends say my UF Sans sounds like Cookie Monster, which they're wrong because it's not even a good Cookie Monster.
You gotta lean into it.
Do they tell you it's a good Cookie Monster or just Cookie
No,
Monster?
I said that they just say it's a...
Yeah.
Screw you!
Mustard!
No one reacted except for a few scoffs and an extremely half-hearted hurrah from the back of the hall, more insulting than no one response at all. Frisk hoped she wasn't expected to introduce herself, or say literally anything else. Luckily, the skeleton was already speaking again.
So,
he intoned, and as one, the monsters flinched.
First off, no one's allowed to hurt her. Directly, indirectly, on purpose, sort of on purpose. Tricking her into it, tricking someone else into it, I don't fucking care. Humans are weaklings, remember? If any of you assholes so much as breathes on her too hard, I'm gonna take you apart mote by mote and burn your dust in front of everyone.
Judging by the monster's shocked faces and low murmurs, this was quite the threat. The skeleton lord's hand was holding hers a little more tightly. Was he shaking? At the front of the crowd, the other skeleton had uncrossed his arms and seemed ready to...
Second!
Everyone twitched.
You do... I see skies... Okay.
Cooking ain't easy.
Cooking ain't easy. Yeah, cooking ain't easy.
You do what she says, when she says, unless I tell you different.
He paused, as if weighing his options.
No lying to her. If she wants to know something, you gotta give her a good answer.
More murmurs of surprise and resentment. Frisk could feel little pulses through her contact with the skeleton. His pendant was doing something magic-related as he spoke. With a start, she remembered her father's description of the skull that bit him and inflicted the curse of obedience. This must be the same thing, in a way that let him use it on every monster at once.
Regardless of how he was doing it, Frisk wished she understood why. He clearly did want her here, but how terrible could things be for him to go to these lengths for her? The first tiny prickling of unease began skittering around the back of her mind. What had her father been trying to tell her? Something he had been hiding that would have destroyed her reputation among her families and friends. with worse duties than arranging parties and checking whether the maids were stealing anything. And the monster being a skeleton was relevant. What could possibly...
He's a skeleton and he's very hot. What could this mean for me?
He's not. She doesn't think he's hot yet. Well,
it's just a good thing.
Not out loud.
She thinks he's hot, too, the girl reading this.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Someone had asked a question.
No, not yet.
The skeleton said, to groans of disappointment.
Party's tomorrow. We'll hold off for tonight and let her get settled.
A loud, rude snort made everyone turn to the back of the crowd.
My Undyne sounds almost exactly like what I'm trying to do for Underfelt Sands, so I'm gonna let someone else do this.
Want me to try to take
part.
Undyne instead?
Please, you or Ikky. Ikky's doing Toriel, so maybe you do Undyne.
Yeah, I don't do a range of voices at all, so please.
Alright, I'm probably gonna hurt my throat, but fuck it.
Well, ain't that sweet?
You didn't file your paperwork last night.
Hey.
Mike Wazowski.
Sans Wazowski.
Sans Wazowski.
It was a tall, armor-clad figure holding a faintly glowing spear. The voice was female, allegedly, but almost as rough as the skeletons.
I know if I was her, I'd want you to hold off for tonight.
The monsters erupted into jeering laughter. Frisk's face burned as the implications sank in, and she gave the skeleton a disbelieving glance as that sense of disquiet prodded her again. What kind of party was he talking about? Would he really go to this much trouble to procure a normal housekeeper, much less protect her like this and celebrate her coming?
Her coming.
No! Shut up! No! No.
To her bemusement, the skeleton seemed as embarrassed as she was, and several times angrier.
I'm gonna get, like, several feet back from the microphone. God, my family's listening. They can hear everything I'm saying. Alright.
Fuck off, Undyne!
You almost sound like Zenigata.
Oh, yeah.
His magic pulsed again so strongly that Frisk's palm tingled. The woman in armor made a faint sound and staggered back against the wall.
If you've got time to say stupid shit, maybe it's time you...
That's enough.
Said someone
above them.
We can say that in unison, improv.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, I'm not gonna do a special voice for Toriel. I don't have them.
Oh.
That's enough.
Said someone
above them.
Okay. Frisk felt the air. God damn me. Frisk felt the air in the room shift again. This time, it felt like a classroom where the teacher had walked in and just looked at everyone. Every monster in the Great Hall, even Undyne, sank to one knee. The skeleton's hands dropped to his sides as Frisk turned to watch another monster descend the staircase.
Tori,
he mumbled.
The white-furred monster glared at him. She resembled a giant goat, but seemed far more predatory, perhaps because of her golden eyes. They reminded Frisk too much of her uncle's captive hawks, which always looked ready to eat someone.
How strange.
The goat woman murmured.
I could have sworn that we've met before, and you know how to properly address me.
Like magic, she was now smiling brilliantly at Frisk.
Welcome to our humble abode, my dearest girl. May I be the first to congratulate you on your conquest of Sans' affections?
The human's polite smile was fixed in place, the one she used at parties when trapped in conversation with people she wasn't allowed to run away from.
You certainly may, lady.
Lady, what the fuck is that voice? Toriel, my...
Listen, bitch.
No, you listen. You listen. You're not going to talk. You're going to listen. I'm not going to say anything, but you're going to fucking listen. Toriel, my child. I am the former queen of this place, now a silly old lady, enjoying my twilight years in retirement, cutting bitches.
As one does.
The goat monster inclined her head and suddenly raised her voice.
Thank you all for coming. I believe dinner should be ready soon.
That was the monster's cue to scatter. No compulsion necessary.
Well,
said Toriel as the room emptied. Her smile twisted in utter contempt.
You seem surprised, my dear. Was Sans incompetent enough to allow your father to lie about your purpose here?
The skeleton, Sans, gritted his teeth. Frisk would have felt sorry for him if... No, wait, she wouldn't. Ever.
Well,
she said, echoing Toriel.
When my father told everyone at my uncle's house what happened, he said the monsters wanted someone to perform the functions of a housekeeper. He never came out and said I'd be marrying anyone.
Frisk gave Sans as poisonous a look as she could, and his sockets went blank. It was unnerving, but she was too angry to care.
On the way up here, he tried to talk more about it, but then he had to leave.
Toriel cackled, raising the hairs on the back of Frisk's neck.
Of course, he didn't tell the rest of your family you'd be sharing your bed with a skeleton. You'd be the laughingstock of the village. No, the whole country.
That was great, Ikky, but we need an evil cackle.
No, that's
That's not even a cackle, but it's wonderful.
You can use that as placeholder.
Okay.
Tori,
muttered Sans. Somehow his entire skull was turning a dull crimson. He'd shrunk in on himself, looking much smaller and curiously vulnerable. Good.
The goat monster must have agreed. She smirked and fully turned her back on him.
I hope you can understand your father's intention, my dear child,
Toriel said. Frisk would have given anything to make her stop smiling.
Parents tell these little fibs every so often to protect their children's feelings.
She patted Frisk's shoulder with a soft, heavy white paw.
I'm sure you'll understand once you start having them.
Frisk's skin crawled. Whether it was Toriel's touch or the thought of that with Sans, she couldn't say. Probably both.
I wish he had given me some forewarning, Lady Toriel, but I understand his reasons. He was also very sick when he reached the village, and likely still is, so we didn't have many chances to talk privately.
Can I ask real quick if... Is Frisk turning back into Droopy Dog because she's not as stressed anymore?
I feel like going back to the droopy voice, so the bees have come back. There's a couple bees in like a little appetizer, like hors d'oeuvre bowl in the Great Hall, and she just grabbed a handful for strength.
That's just not a... Don't worry, she'll get mad again in a minute, so the bees will be moot.
Yeah.
You'll have no power over here.
I've completely lost track of who's talking for this paragraph.
Oh, serious face, this is serious. I'm sorry to hear that.
Toriel murmured.
But it was to be expected after a night outside without food or drink, and then a walk down the mountain without provisions.
Oh, what?
Frisk rounded on her would-be husband, who was sweating profusely. How the hell did... No, never mind.
You didn't give him anything at all? And you made him sleep outside?
She demanded.
Sans' eyes sparked red again.
God, I hate taking over the voices because yours is so good.
He trespassed on my land and fucked up my garden. What was I supposed to do? Give him a cookie in his own private room?
I swear
Anything
to God, I didn't
but
write
keep
cookie
him
there on
outside
purpose.
like a dog.
Ikky's just laughing because he says the word cookie and I sound like Cookie Monster.
Give him a cookie in his own private room? I mean, shut the fuck your mouth.
Just imagine Cookie Monster busting through the wall like Kool-Aid Man, except he's got cookies instead.
Frisk was so angry that her eyes were filling with tears, and her voice was turning back into the brain. She swiped them as discreetly as she could.
I am overtired, Lord Sans. May I be shown my room for the night, or would you prefer I sleep in the garden?
Fine!
He bellowed. For a horrible moment, Frisk thought he really was going to lock her outside. No, he was grabbing the pendant.
Ikky, how do you pronounce... How is how's that? Is that Pane or what?
No, just Pan. It's a Fire Emblem reference.
Pan. Okay. Oh, clever. Okay.
Pam! Lapis! Get your asses down here now!
I'm afraid you have your work cut out for you, my child.
Toriel said kindly to Frisk, who was seething so hard it took a moment to realize someone was speaking.
If you want any help, dear, you need only ask. I'll fucking murder anyone you want.
Thank you, Lady Toriel.
The human replied.
I've dealt with bullies before, but they usually don't have magic on their side.
Toriel cackled again as Sans' eyes went blank.
Ha ha ha!
That's still not a cackle! It's great, but it's not a cackle. That's a cat. There you go.
There.
There you go.
Okay, we're gonna pretend that stuff happened and it was exactly the way it was supposed to. Okay, I'm amusing myself now. Well said, my dearest Frisk. Very well said. Our Lord is accustomed to getting what he wants, but a bit of reality may be what he needs. He is kind of an asshole.
You know what?
The skeleton's voice was high and loud with indignation.
You're right! Forget it! Fucking forget it!
I messed that up.
You're right! God damn it! Ah!
Okay.
Yeah, I know from experience it's hard to like be angry and also get the lines right sometimes.
That's definitely the reason. That's definitely the reason why I'm messing up the lines.
You're right! Forget it! Fucking forget about this whole thing! Do the ceremony, make it so your creepy-ass curse worked, and then she can go back to her dumbass family. How's that sound?
Frisk's heart leapt until Toriel gave a gentle sigh. Yes, Lady Toriel, the human asked warily.
Yeah, what?
Sans snapped.
Several things, children. For one, Sans, you already came crawling to me for help in getting Frisk's father through the barrier. To be honest, I'm surprised we were able to do it at all. I absolutely do not have the resources left to move another human through the gate safely.
Frisk could have cried, but as it turned out, that was the least of her problems.
And if you think you'll be man and wife after a few words and a slice of cake, you're sorely mistaken. A true marriage is built on time, trust, and communication.
Toriel nodded benignly.
And sex.
Oh, this gets better and better.
What?
It came.
God damn it, improv! Not everything has to do with sex!
Incorrect. Moving on. It came out in perfect tandem between the skeleton and the human.
The goat monster didn't bother to hide her glee.
I never said you'd find a wife in name only, you pathetic sack of bones. What are you thinking, trying to get rid of her? Why go to all the trouble of snaring such a lovely thing if you were just going to shoo her off? I've never seen you so excited, having your room prepared and planning what to eat for...
There they are!
Sans said sharply, looking and sounding ready for death as two rabbit monsters approached.
You! Get her fed, bath, sleep, whatever. I'm going to bed. Good night!
Toriel's grin was the most evil thing Frisk had ever seen.
Good night, my lord. It's only... Oh dear. There he goes.
She examined the tips of her claws and gave Frisk a look that made the human shudder.
Was it something I said?
Okay, alright, now you get to do improv. You get to do a voice that's actually like one of the voices you normally do for Undertale.
Really, brother, I don't know what you expected.
It's so good. It's such a good voice. Sans tried to think of something witty, but it was easier to bash his head against the wall some more. So...
Will you kindly stop that foolish noise? If idiocy could be removed that way, I would gladly crack your exalted skull open. But no, your lordship's stupidity would remain intact no matter what measures were taken.
For the millionth time, Sans found himself reaching for his pendant, the key to the spell encompassing the castle and its grounds. All he had to do was concentrate on Papyrus and command him to shut up for 10 goddamn minutes. His life would be easier and quieter.
Very quiet. I don't hear anything.
Very quiet, very quiet!
It keeps fading in and out, so it's hard to tell when you're actually done. And complete shit, because Pap wouldn't be his brother anymore. Sans rolled his skull sideways along his bedroom wall, glaring at the taller skeleton.
Get your ass off my bed.
Papyrus snorted.
Why? It is apparent that you will be the only one using it for the foreseeable future.
Oh, not you too!
Sans grabbed a book at random from the shelf and chucked it at his brother, who easily caught it and tossed it to the floor.
What? You want to be more like Undyne?
Pathetic as she is, it would still be preferable to other persons of my acquaintance. By which, of course, I mean you, because you are terrible.
Papyrus did get up, though, and Sans tensed as his brother approached the mirror.
Why do you still keep this?
To Sans' indignation, Pap took the ink drawing from where Sans had stuck it in the mirror's frame, holding it up for a closer... Sorry, I'm remembering the voice you do for Frisk, I'm sorry. Holding it up for a closer inspection.
Surely, now that you have captured the human it depicts...
Put it back!
Sans snapped.
Papyrus tutted under his breath.
As my idiotic lord wishes.
Unwilling to make a mess of any kind, the younger skeleton tucked the picture very gently back into the frame, smoothing down the creased edges.
It will be ruined if you don't stop carrying it everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
The elder skeleton grumbled. He let the back of his skull thump into the wall again, earning another sharp look.
You can leave now.
Pap's boots tapped impatiently on the stone floor. Several rolled-up rugs were stacked at the other end of the room, but Sans had made several excuses to leave them there, unable to admit his fear of picking something she didn't like. Of course, now he would kill for that to be his biggest problem.
Will you be alright, brother? Shall I bring the manual? The section on wooing a kidnapped bride is pitifully short, but...
I'm good, bro.
Lied Sans.
Go to bed.
It wasn't a command, and they both knew it.
I didn't get a close look at my new sister,
Papyrus remarked. His gloved finger tapped the edge of the portrait.
Is this accurate?
No.
Sans said sharply.
Don't touch it.
Only Pap could make that a complete sentence. Only Pap and Improv could make that a complete sentence.
Fuck yeah.
I see. The artist seemed skilled enough, but it must be another human lie. It is a shame, because the female in this picture is not nearly as hideous as most of her.
Get the fuck out of my room!
Eventually, Papyrus complied, leaving Sans with only his stupid thoughts for company. There weren't enough permutations of fuck to express what he was feeling, so he settled on staring at the windows and letting his head hit the wall some more.
He hadn't lied to Papyrus. The picture wasn't accurate. It didn't show how her eyes were gray, or the way her nose scrunched when she was mad, or how her cheeks turned pink when he touched them. Looking at it always made him want to hold her, but it didn't have her light, sweet scent, or feel so damn soft that he forgot he wasn't supposed to touch.
Fuck. She was here, but this was still bullshit. He'd felt a twinge in the spell framework and realized that someone was trying to get around one of his orders, probably by a lie through omission. But how was he supposed to know it was Proust? He never expected that whinging, craven little shit would avoid telling Frisk she was going to be married. She hadn't had time to get used to the idea, weigh the pros and cons, maybe move past him threatening to kill her daddy as leverage.
Oh, who the hell was he kidding? Even if Sans had gone about this as honorably as he could, and even if she'd had a year to think it over, she never would have accepted him on her own. No matter what anyone said, he was still a monster, and she was still...
His mind veered off yet again to when he'd followed her through the garden. He'd been so thrilled that she was really here, but so terrified that the ideal he'd built up from one picture would fall short of reality. Maybe he'd made an ass of himself, getting everyone to clean stuff up and get things out and plan it all down to the second for someone who'd drawn herself to look better than she really was. Maybe her dad was just being a dad and he'd actually spoiled her rotten, letting her take the credit for some actual housekeeper's work. Maybe she wasn't really that nice. Maybe this was a mistake.
So, faced with possible perfection, what did he do? He snuck up close enough to smell her, weirded her out, and then tried to play it off as a joke, which scared her even worse. And...
No, the picture wasn't accurate. He'd been so stunned that he just stood there like a complete moron, not apologizing or helping her up or introducing himself, because she was so beautiful that he forgot to breathe. Of course she got scared and mad at him, and he didn't know how to handle it because he didn't know how to handle anything. So he just acted like himself, and he was gonna kill Toriel if it was the last goddamn thing he did.
The wind was howling again. Ikky, wind.
Beep. Beep, goddammit, come on.
Beep, okay. If you beeped, I didn't hear you the first time. Sans wondered if it was keeping Frisk awake, assuming she could sleep at all after discovering she was going to marry him. He looked at his bed. Who is doing that? Which one of you is doing that? No! God damn it, improv! Not everything has to...
You don't know that. Maybe it does. Everything does have to be. What is that?
The wind was poggers again.
He looked at his bed, which had never had anyone but him in it. Thank you, Papyrus. He'd enjoyed modest success in his sex life before that stupid fucking day with Asgore, but ever since, he found that being able to make people do anything he wanted was a massive turnoff. It felt creepy and pathetic, and, well, wrong, even if he didn't actually order anyone into the sack, or to do anything in it.
Now that he was going to have an actual wife, who thought he was a bully, hated and feared him, would that be any better? Maybe if he courted her well enough, let her see that he'd loved her before they ever even met, refrained from using magic to change her mind.
Take us home, Improv.
If that was the best he could do, then no, it wouldn't be any better. Sans gave himself one last bang on the wall, kicked his boots off, and climbed into the bed.
Good night,
he said out loud, and closed his sockets to wait for morning.
Actually, it's climbed onto the bed. He's like on top of the covers because he doesn't know how to do anything good.
What is sheets? I don't understand this technology. Why am I so cold at night?
So yeah, the story of Sans sucking begins.
Yeah. Alright, well, thank you so much, Improv. That was fantastic.
It was. That was a hell of a lot of fun.
You did an excellent job of doing voices outside of your regular voices. Or regular characters. Regular characters, at least.
I just don't often have an opportunity to whip out the droopy voice. There's just not as much stuff that presents that opportunity. But I will usually just use it to fuck with my roommate. I'll just sneak up and just be like,
"Now you listen, you little bastard boy. I'm whispering into your ear."
Okay, well, anyway, thank you so much for being on this weird little show thing. If you enjoyed listening to this, please consider giving the wonderfully talented Mr. Improvidence a tip. I will put the link to his coffee, or Ko-fi if you're fancy, down in the description. Also, check out Bonely Hearts Club. There will be a link to that in the description as well. Any final words?
penis.
I don't know what else I expected, honestly. I don't know.